Recording in progress.
Good morning. Good morning, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, Science, Technology and Innovation, and the Portfolio Committee of Electricity and Energy, and the Chair of the Portfolio Committee of Electricity and Energy, the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, and the Department of Electricity and Energy, and the entities present here, CSIR and SANEDI, and all of you honorable members, you're welcome to the Portfolio Committee, the Joint Portfolio Committee of Science, Technology and Innovation, and Electricity and Energy. This morning we are joined by the Portfolio Committee of Energy, and we are receiving a brief by DSTI and collaborating entities on the work jointly with the Department of Electricity and Energy. We as a committee, we undertook to pursue this type of joint meeting with our portfolio counterparts in Parliament to highlight the nature of science, technology and innovation portfolio, which work spans across all sectors of our government. It is also important that other portfolios understand what science have to offer to other portfolios in terms of science-based research, innovative solutions to challenge and ultimately design to provide service delivery and development of a capable state. These joint initiatives are necessary given the financial challenges departments and entities are facing to fully fund all their programs and plans. So departments must work better together. We as committees in our oversight must look at the budget allocations for research and development and ensure that it is used for its intended purpose. On that note, colleagues, I would like to welcome the chairperson officially and members of the Portfolio Committee of Electricity, and also the department entities who were invited today for today's presentation. I, however, wish to raise my displeasure in the late receipt of additional documents by the departments, and trust that it will be the last time this happens. It's not good to disadvantage members to get content on time so that they can prepare for the portfolio committee meetings. So I hope that next time this will not happen. We have an agenda ahead of us. We have apologies, consideration of agenda, briefings by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation on hydrogen energy collaborative efforts between the DSTI and the Department of Electricity and Energy. And then we have the DSTI and SANEDI and CSIR, and then we'll have questions and discussions, and then we'll have way forward. Then we'll adjourn our meetings. Right now, I would like to invite the chairperson of Portfolio Committee of Electricity and Energy to give her welcome remarks, and then we'll do introductions after we are addressed by the Chair of Electricity and Energy. And it must be noted, honorable members, that this is a joint portfolio committee meeting, and we are going to be co-chairing this meeting with Honorable Mfana. So, Honorable Chair, can you come through?
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to honorable members that have joined the meeting. I have just joined in a cell phone. I'm worried that I can't even open my video. I think I request that I switch off my video and continue, but I'll try to switch on the other gadget so that I can be visible, so that everyone can see that I'm not a robot. And good morning to the entities that have joined us. And I also want to say, Chairperson, I really enjoy this thing of the joint meeting, as I know that there's lots that make us to be joined times in terms of the information. So I just want to say that let's hope for the best, that both ourselves will be able to understand on how do we think and what is it that we are dealing with in terms of, remember, Chairpersons and honorable members, this is a completely new committee. So everything is from afresh. But it doesn't mean that when other honorable members are there to assist in terms of sharing the information, as electricity and energy, we can't welcome that. We really appreciate this, and we hope it will keep on continue for us to share the information. Even ourselves, Chairperson and honorable members, it's not an end of the day. This meeting is a beginning and it's a start of the things. If members want to know anything that they think they slip over on it and come up with it, they are free to communicate via the secretary, Mr. Ariko, through your committee, so as to share the information, as I have already said. Thanks ever so much, Chairperson. I'm not going to do a lot of welcoming and also sort of an information and also everything. Otherwise, we are willing to listen to all the information that is going to share amongst ourselves, and then we'll interact with it after that. Thanks ever so much, Chairperson. Continue with the meeting. We are present here as members. Myself, I am Nonkosi Mvana, the Chairperson of Electricity and Energy. Other members of my committee will also introduce themselves. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think we can please proceed with the introductions of members that are present in the platform from a portfolio committee of electricity and energy. Can honorable members who are in the platform introduce themselves?
Good morning, Chairperson of both portfolios, colleagues, members of the department. My name is Nazir Paulson, deployed by the Economic Freedom Fighters. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, both Chairpersons, and good morning to all honorable members and all the entities, departments in a meeting. My name is Vusi Nkosi. I'm a member of a portfolio committee of electricity and energy, as well a portfolio committee of science, technology, and innovation, deployed by the African National Congress. I thank you.
Chair, it's Kevin Milam here from the Democratic Alliance. I'm on the Portfolio Committee of Energy and Electricity.
Thank you, Chair. It's Dumelo Ramongalo here, and I'm a member of the Portfolio Committee of Science, Innovation and Technology. Thank you.
Chairperson, Natasha Mazzoni. I am a member of the Science, Technology and Innovation Committee for the Democratic Alliance.
Good morning. Sorry, go ahead.
Good morning, Chairperson of Electricity and Energy and our DSTI Chairperson. My name is Tembeka Mkono. I'm the member of the Science, Technology and Innovation Portfolio Committee. I'm deployed by the ANC. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Edwin Baptiste, member of the Portfolio Committee on Energy and Electricity, representing the Democratic Alliance.
Morning, Chairpersons. Dr. Susan Tembekwayo, serving in Committee of Science, Technology and Innovation, EFF. Thanks.
Chairs by Boshoff and Freedom Front Plus Committee of Science and Innovation Technology. Thank you.
I would like to believe that honorable members.
Morning, Chair.
Honorable Chadu.
Oh, good morning, Chair. My name is Temukosi Mjadu, a member of Science, Technology and Innovation Portfolio Committee. I'm deployed by MK Party.
If all members of both the portfolio committees have introduced themselves, we can proceed.
Chairperson, my name is Sipho Mbata.
Honorable Mbata.
Oh yeah. Good morning, Chairpersons. My name is Sipho Mbata. I am from Umkhonto Wesizwe. I also serve on both committees, on the other one on electricity as an alternate. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members.
Good morning.
Yes.
My name is Crown Prince Adilin Chabeling, serving on the PC of Electricity and Energy.
Thank you, Honorable Chabeling. Do we still have another honorable member who has not introduced themselves from both the portfolio committees?
Honorable Fasio.
Honorable. Okay.
Maybe, yeah. We can pass when she speaks. She will introduce herself.
All right, Chair.
Good morning. My name is Brian Molife.
Honorable Molife?
Yes, that's me, Brian Molife.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Molife. And then Honorable Hassan, when she is able to do so, she can do so. But it's good to win. It's noted that she's in the meeting. Honorable Chairperson. Can we, if we're done with all the introductions, can we get apologies, Shanaz?
Good morning, chairpersons and everybody on the platform. The apologies we received were that from the minister and also from the DG of DSTI, sorry, Chair. And both of them are attending a cabinet commitment this morning. Thank you, Chair. We have not received any from the members. We are full complement, 11 out of 11. Thanks, Chair. I'm not sure the PCEE will do the apologies. Thanks, Chair. Mr. Kotsa?
Can we? Okay. Secretary from Energy, Electricity.
Thank you, Chair. We've received the following apologies. Honorable Kwankwa, who's currently abroad in China. Honorable Thring is attending another meeting, but he will be joining us. And as you've indicated, Chair, Mayor Sans is attending a physical meeting of the PC on mineral and petroleum resources. So she has limited participation. And then we've also received an apology from the Minister of Electricity and Energy, including the acting DG, who's attending the Cabinet Economic Retreat. And then also an apology from the Deputy Minister, who is currently abroad in Vienna. So those are the apologies received, Chairs. Thank you.
Thank you for the apologies. Can we have a mover for the adoption of agenda? Honorable Mazoni.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move for the adoption of the agenda.
Can we win a second? Honorable Nkosi.
Thank you, Chair. I move with a secondment of the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. The agenda has been duly adopted and seconded. We are now going to I don't know why the screen is gone. Apologies, honorable members. I'm distracted by the screen that just disappeared. If it can be brought back so that we know where we are in the agenda. Thank you, Kunte. We are now going to take a briefing by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation on hydrogen and energy collaborative efforts between the DSTI and the Department of Electricity and Energy. So we are going to now welcome the leader from DSTI, and I'm seeing yes the DDG, because the DG had apologized for this meeting. Can you lead the presentation for the briefing, and also the one of CSIR, and then after that we will allow Honorable my co-chair to take over on the presentation from to take over from me. This is where I'll be handing over chair to you after the brief from the department. Thank you so much. Over to you, DDG.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairpersons and Honourable Members of the Committee. Thank you for convening this joint sitting and for inviting the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation to brief you today. Chairperson, our apologies for the late submission of the documents. We will strive to do better in future. And as I've mentioned, the Director General has conveyed his sincere apologies as he is supporting the Minister at the Cabinet Economic Retreat chaired by the President. My name is Jatani Charsley, and I am the Acting DDG for Technology Innovation. Chairpersons, today, this meeting falls on a very symbolic occasion, the International Day of Science, Technology and Innovation for the South, proclaimed by the United Nations. This day underscores the importance of strengthening science, technology and innovation as a key drivers for sustainable development, particularly in countries of the Global South. It is therefore very fitting that we meet on this date to reflect on how South Africa is positioning STI at the heart of its energy transition. The DSTI's mandate is to place science, technology and innovation at the center of government, society, and the economy. The energy domain provides a clear example of why innovation must be central to our national agenda, given its role in driving security of supply, decarbonisation, and industrial competitiveness. As South Africa navigates persistent energy challenges, it is vital that we harness our research, development, and innovation capabilities to secure the energy transition, strengthen energy security, and position our country to benefit from new global markets in hydrogen and clean energy. Our presentation today reflects how the DSTI is strategically driving this agenda in partnership with the Department of Electricity and Energy, SANEDI, the CSIR, and various other role players. Over the past 5 years, the DSTI has deliberately positioned itself to lead the energy research, development, and innovation agenda. This has included the establishment of the Energy Secretariat at SANEDI, the rollout of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, the development of the Energy Storage Roadmap, and targeted investments across 4 flagship programs, namely Hydrogen South Africa, Renewable Energy, Energy Storage, and Carbon Capture and Use. These programs provide the foundation for South Africa's participation in new global markets while strengthening local beneficiation, skills development, and technology commercialization. Chairpersons, these efforts reflect the department's strategic intent, as captured in the White Paper on Science, Technology and Innovation and the Decadal Plan, to deepen inclusion, strengthen industrial linkages, expand science diplomacy, and ensure that publicly funded research outputs lead to real socioeconomic impact. They also illustrate our ability to convene and coordinate a cross-national system of innovation, building structured partnerships within government, business, academia, and international stakeholders. I wish to stress that this work is not only technical, but also strategic in building South Africa's role in the global hydrogen economy and expanding science diplomacy. Our partnerships with local as well as international partners reflect our commitment to ensuring that South Africa is not left behind in the global transition. This joint sitting is an important opportunity to reflect on progress, acknowledge the gaps and challenges, and consider how government can together strengthen alignment between policy, research, and implementation. We must ensure that our publicly funded intellectual property is not only developed, but also commercialized at scale, and that our communities, provinces, and local municipalities see tangible benefits. Chairperson and committee members, I will now invite my colleague, Ms. Mandy Malilo, Acting Chief Director for Hydrogen and Energy, to take you through our presentation in more detail. We are also today joined by our colleagues from our partner entities, the CSIR as well as SANEDI, Dr. Malinga, who is the CSIR Group Executive for Smart Society, as well as Prof. Samson, who is the head of the DSTI Energy Secretariat at SANEDI, will support us in answering any questions that may be forthcoming during our discussion sessions. Chairpersons, with your permission, I will now hand over to Mandy to take us through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jetani. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just by way of introduction, I just thought, let me just show my face so that at least you know that you're not engaging with a robot. As indicated, my name is Mandy Nompumelelo Mlilo from the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation. I'm the current Acting Chief Director, Hydrogen and Energy. Thank you very much. I will now share my screen. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this wonderful opportunity to really extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation appreciation for being afforded this wonderful opportunity to come and present on the update of the work that we're doing under the Hydrogen and Energy Chief Directorate of the department. As indicated, the presentation will mainly be focusing on giving you an update on the hydrogen and energy collaborative efforts that we are currently embarking on as a department, together with the Department of Electricity and Energy, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, as well as SANEDI. The outline of the presentation will mainly focus first, starting with the collaborative efforts that we have with SANEDI. The main reason in terms of the logic of the presentation is that most of the flagship programs or most of the initiatives that we are supporting are being implemented through SANEDI. And then we'll talk and focus on outline the collaborative efforts that we have with the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and as well as the collaborative efforts that we have with the Department of Electricity and Energy. And then part of the presentation and update is also to give you a sense of how far we've gone in terms of reflecting on the implementation of these energy RDI flagship programs, because part of us charting the way forward is to reflect and really ascertain as to how far have we gone, what has gone wrong, what has gone right, and then we can correctively and collectively chart a way forward that will be effective, that will inform the effective implementation as going forward. And also part of the reflection as well that we'll be bringing forth is the, to give you a sense of what our proposed and recommendations in relation to the identified gaps and opportunities that we believe are serving as the low-hanging fruits. Well, the next coming few slides will be focusing on our collaborative efforts that we have with SANEDI. Way back in August 2020, the DSTI established what we call the DSTI Energy Secretariat at SANEDI. This is a platform that has been created to allow both the public and private sector participation that can support the implementation of the energy research, development, and innovation flagship programs that are supported by the department. The slides mainly reflects the critical aspects that inform the mandate of the Energy Secretariat. And as such, the Energy Secretariat is mandated to support the department with the effective implementation first of the energy research, development, and flagship programs. These are mainly the energy storage, the Hydrogen South Africa program, as well as what we call the Coal CO22X flagship program, which we also refer to as carbon capture and utilization. The Energy Secretariat is also mandated to support the department when it comes to contributing to the creation of hydrogen and innovation ecosystem supported by skills development. This is done through the monitoring and implementation of the energy innovation policies, the innovation policies that guides and direct the implementation of the Energy for RDI flagship programs, as well as also the Energy Secretariat is also mandated to really support the department when it comes to supporting the skills that are required to support this creation of the hydrogen and innovation ecosystems. And as such, the critical partnerships with TVET colleges and University of Technology graduates on emerging technologies, those are the partnerships that we support through the Energy Secretariat. Last but definitely not least, the Energy Secretariat is also mandated to support the department with contributing to the enhancement of service delivery through the management and monitoring of large-scale deployments in partnership with public, private sector, and academia in support of the presidential district model. That is where we believe that, as the DDG has indicated, part of our work when we're implementing these energy RTI flagship programs, the science, technology, and innovation should be at the center of government, should be the center of the communities, should be a center of industry. So part of being at the center of communities is partnering with district municipalities and local municipalities to assist with the relevant service delivery requirements in terms of the energy, in terms of the energy portfolio. The department is really supporting the development of low carbon technologies through the 4 energy RTI flagship programs that we've mentioned. Mainly the driving force and the motivation is to support the diversification of the energy mix, as well as to achieve what we call the energy security and energy access. And I want to mention, ladies and gentlemen, that at the core of the implementation of the energy RTI flagship programs is really the fostering of strategic partnerships with public and private sector to reduce the institutional as well as the market barriers of these alternative energy technologies, so that they can become competitive with current technologies in terms of cost and performance, as well as to facilitate their commercialization. The flagship programs that you are supporting, ladies and gentlemen, they are mainly structured in what we call a hub and spokes model. This hub and spokes model design, it comprises of consortium of universities, science councils, as well as industries and business, which creates a platform that allows then for the interaction and the strategic partnership between private and public sectors to participate in line with the core themes of the white paper on science, technology, and innovation, which would derive our mandate as the department. And the core themes that we always advance through the implementation of these energy RTI flagship programs is the core themes that talks to inclusivity, that talks to transformation, and that talks to partnership. So as we explore and expand and try to establish strategic partnerships, we always have to ensure that those inclusivity is always at the center of those strategic partnerships. Transformation imperatives and requirements also form part and parcel of establishing those strategic partnerships that we are always pursuing. The support for the implementation of the 4 energy RTI flagship programs is mainly informed by the strategic intent and the desire to capitalize and leverage on South Africa's competitive advantage for socio-economic benefits. As you may be aware, ladies and gentlemen, the country's renewable energy sources and mineral resources are among the most valuable in the world. South Africa has most abundant renewable energy sources such as solar and wind, and the world's largest reserves when it comes to platinum group metals, chrome, manganese, as well as the second largest reserves of zirconium, vanadium, titanium, as well as significant gold and diamond reserves. So the implementation of the 4 energy RTI flagship programs does not only present an opportunity to address and contribute to energy access, energy security, and the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, but it also provides the opportunity to address and contribute to mineral beneficiation opportunities in support of the mineral beneficiation and critical minerals and metals strategies. So the slide is just give you an example of the competitive advantage that we have when it comes to the hydrogen economy. And when it comes to the hydrogen economy, that competitive advantage is informed by the HISA program's contribution towards what we call the expertise and the competitive advantage that we have when it comes to the export of green ammonia and green hydrogen. So through government support in one of the energy RTI flagship programs, which is the Hydrogen South Africa program, we have managed to build the relevant competencies and the competitive advantage that can confidently and boldly place us as one of the key players that can play a critical role when it comes to the export of green hydrogen and green ammonia. Ladies and gentlemen, the implementation of the Energy RDI flagship programs also seek to contribute to the realization and advancement of the vision that is contained in the 2019 White Paper on Science, Technology and Innovation. And part of that vision is also to contribute to the policy intents that are reflected in this slide. So through the Energy RDI flagship programs, part of those policy intents that we're responding to is it's the ones that are reflected in the slide, which is improving inclusion and building more linkages across the national system of innovation, and also supporting the commercialization of publicly funded and locally developed intellectual property. And as I mentioned in my opening remarks, at the center of the implementation of these Energy RDI flagship programs, we always want to ensure that we align the contribute to the DSTI mantra, which stipulates that we're placing science, technology, and innovation at center of government, at center of education, society, and economy. So basically what that means when we are placing science, technology, and innovation at the center of government, education, society, and economy, it means that the flagship programs, the outcomes should translate science to solve societal, environmental, and economic problems in real time. The renewable energy and flagship program is aimed at the development and deployment of renewable technologies such as photovoltaic, solar, and wind. This slide, ladies and gentlemen, it reflects the competencies that have been developed along the renewable energy value chain, starting from the upstream research and development through to downstream research and development. These slides also reflect the partnerships in terms of academic institutions that are involved in contributing to the development of these competencies. As you can see, it also includes the previously disadvantaged institutions, such as your University of Fort Hare, that part and parcel of the academic institutions that are supporting the development work in relation to the renewable energy and flagship program. In terms of the energy storage, so this is the energy storage is mainly aimed at the development and deployment of technologies along the lithium-ion batteries value chain, starting from mining to beneficiation, with a focus on the development of value-added and manganese-based precursor materials, cell and battery manufacturing, testing and validation, recycling, as well as product development towards commercialization. Similar to the previous slide, this slide also reflects the competencies that have been developed along the energy storage value chain, and obviously starting from the upstream research and development through to the downstream research development, as well as also incorporating or reflecting the academic institutions that are participating as part of the energy storage RDI flagship program. The Hydrogen South Africa, which we also refer to as the HySA flagship program, is mainly aimed at the development and deployment of hydrogen fuel cell technologies, focusing on the platinum group metal-based catalysts for fuel cells and electrolyzers, technologies for hydrogen production, storage, and distribution, as well as technology demonstration and deployment in stationary and mobile applications. What I would like to highlight, especially on the HySA program, it's one of those good examples when it comes to government supporting energy innovation. Through this program, there's relevant infrastructure, technical capabilities, and competencies that have been built or that have been established through the 3 centers of competence that are participating as part of the HySA program. And these competencies that we have, that government has supported, they are focusing mainly on catalysis, hydrogen production, storage and distribution, as well as systems integration and technology validation. To date, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to highlight that is a very good story to mention. To date, PGM-based catalysts and membrane electrode assemblies for fuel cells and electrolyzers, as well as metal hydride-based hydrogen storage technologies, have been developed through this particular program. And this is placing and positioning South Africa as a significant player in the global market for the export of green hydrogen and green ammonia. And this is the program that government supported way back in 2007, when the hydrogen economy agenda or narrative was not yet that important or that famous. Government saw the opportunity to be proactive and start supporting our building of the competencies when it comes to the hydrogen economy agenda. The Coal CO2 flagship program, which we also refer to as the Carbon Capture and Utilization flagship program, is mainly aimed at the conversion of coal-fired and industrial flue gas into multiple commodity streams using green hydrogen and green ammonia based on locally developed and publicly financed IP. As we may be aware, the CCU, or the Carbon Capture and Use technology, is seen as a game changer in assisting South Africa's transition towards a low-carbon economy. Given South Africa's reliance on coal in electricity generation, we believe that the successful deployment of the CCU technology in the Eskom generating fleet and other hard-to-abate sectors has the potential to significantly improve South Africa's emissions profile, while also ensuring energy security for the country, as well as preserving jobs in the coal sector. And we believe that this is the program that can really assist in the long sustenance of coal, because coal is playing a critical role when it comes to supporting our economy, and there is no way that we can get rid of coal tomorrow. And we believe that this is the technology that can really play that critical role of supporting that long sustenance of utilization of coal, but at the same time maintaining, as well as trying to ensure that there's reduction in terms of greenhouse gases and contribution to our climate change commitments that we have as a country. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, this slide, it shows the relevance and impact of really incorporating and integrating locally developed intellectual property from the HISA program itself, because in the form of catalyst-coated membranes, this is the intellectual property that, if you see on this slide, there's a part where it shows the green hydrogen production. We use that intellectual property to drive the production of green hydrogen, which then is reacted with nitrogen oxide, then to form green ammonia production, which is then fed into the diesel production facility, where coming from the CCU process, there's sulfuric acid that then mix with the with the green ammonia that then produces ammonia sulfate, which then becomes part of the ingredients that are needed for the fertilizer production. So this is a very a good opportunity for South Africa to pursue when it comes to really converting the greenhouse gases that are contained within the power sector and the hard-to-abate sectors, as well as also making sure that we also produce value-added components that can still contribute to the economy, to driving the economy. This slide, ladies and gentlemen, it shows just other initiatives that we are supporting, that we are supporting through the Energy Secretariat, and part of those initiatives is the initiatives that are reflected. And I want to bring to your attention the initiative that is listed here, the development of the Eastern Cape Green Hydrogen Strategy. As the department, through the Energy Secretariat, we are supporting that development of that Eastern Cape strategy, which is currently at an advanced stage to be adopted by the provincial government. And part of us supporting is to ensure that with green hydrogen economy can also be beneficial to the growth frontiers that have been identified by the Eastern Cape Province when it comes to positioning the Eastern Cape Province to become one of the green hydrogen commercial hubs that can support the export and import the export of green hydrogen and green ammonia, specifically through the Kucha Special Economic Zone. And in terms of efficiency, we have put in governance and coordinating structures that assist in ensuring that the decisions that we make through the Energy Secretariat are becoming decisions that are impartial and objective, and they serve the interest of government that can also contribute to the socio-economic benefits that we want to derive from these initiatives. And part of those coordinating and governance structures that we've put in place, they are the ones that are reflected in the slide. And as an interim governance structure, we've put in place what we call the Project Steering Committee for the DSTI Decadal Plan related initiatives. This structure, it really provides the strategic advice and guidance on the initiatives that should contribute and promote science, technology, innovation in support of the Decadal Plan imperatives. And this structure mainly recommends on where the proposals that have been submitted through the DSTI Energy Secretariat at SANEDI should be funded or not funded. And at advanced stages, in addition to this structure, we're also planning to put what we call the Decision Oversight Committee, which will be a structure that will have representatives from the other key government departments, such as the Department of Electricity and Energy, Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, to mention but a few, that will also provide the relevant advice and guidance that is needed when it comes to implementing these hydrogen and energy related initiatives through the Energy Secretariat. This next slide, the next slides will just be focusing on our collaborative efforts that we have with the CSIR. The slide reflects the CSIR's position within the battery research, development, and innovation ecosystem. It mainly that positioning of the CSIR through that battery RDI competencies and competencies that have built. They are focusing on battery modeling by developing advanced battery simulation models, skills and technology development, and market assessment by analyzing demand for energy storage solutions and energy storage testbed by developing battery management systems. This slide it shows the competencies that have been built through CSIR, but also shows the participation of the CSIR when it comes to the energy storage flagship program. And CSIR is forms part of the consortium of companies that are involved in the energy storage flagship program. And within the energy storage value chain, the slide shows the contribution to the battery research, development, and innovation in terms of internal capabilities that reside within the CSIR, as well as also showing where they play a role when it comes to joint development with strategic partners. For example, they also participate in the pack assembly using CSIR's active materials, and they're partnering in that technology development area with University of the Western Cape. They're also focusing on production and assembly of single cells, covering the coin and pouch cells. And so that is just gives you an indication of the role and the participation of the CSIR when it comes to the energy storage RDI flagship program. This slide, it shows again the other contribution of our collaborative efforts with the CSIR in relation to the Hydrogen South Africa program. As you may be aware, the CSIR it's a co-host of the HISA Infrastructure Center of Competence. And that HISA infrastructure is one of the 3 centers of competence that forms the HISA program, and they're responsible for hydrogen storage, production, storage, and distribution. And part of the work that CSIR is doing as part of its contribution towards HISA infrastructure, it has partnered with the DSTI to really demonstrate the production of TECO's hydrogen through pyrolysis of biogas from municipal wastewater treatment plants, which reflects a very compelling decarbonization opportunity. As we all know, ladies and gentlemen, that municipalities are currently facing a major challenge when it comes to the management of wastewater treatment plants. And this is an opportunity that could really unlock those benefits when it comes to really getting the economic viability of these waste treatment plants for the municipalities that are concerned. Well, the last part of our collaborative efforts with the CSIR is through what we call the Hydrogen Coordination Office. This is an interim structure that we have established at the CSIR, which is mainly meant to operationalize the implementation of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap that will assist the South African government in the interim. So this structure assists us in the interim until we have put in place a much more permanent structure. As you may be aware, as the department, we led the process of the development of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, which is a blueprint policy document that guides the country on how to attain the hydrogen economy agenda. And this is a policy document that was adopted by Cabinet in September of 2021. So part of the work that CSIR is assisting us through the coordination office is really to provide support to government departments during the implementation of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. And as well as part of that support also entails monitoring the implementation of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap itself, as well as the catalytic projects. Mainly these catalytic projects, we're talking about the registered strategic integrated projects, the SIPs, which are currently led or managed through Infrastructure South Africa. And these are the catalytic projects that have been identified as critical projects that will assist the attainment or the achievement of the overall goal of the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. So part of monitoring the implementation and the progress in the implementation of these catalytic projects, it assists us to gauge ourselves, to benchmark ourselves in terms of how far have we gone when it comes to the achievement of the hydrogen economy. The next few slides will focus on our then collaborative efforts with the Department of Electricity and Energy. The collaborative efforts with the Department of Electricity and Energy have mainly been focused on advancing the country's nuclear research, development, and innovation agenda. And as such, the slide shows the initiatives that the department has supported in partnership with the Department of Electricity and Energy. So the department has supported the Department of Electricity and Energy in the development of what we call the draft nuclear research, development and innovation strategy, and as well as also provided written inputs into the draft discussion document on nuclear research, development and innovation in South Africa. The department is also supporting the Department of Electricity and Energy in the implementation of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, Technical Cooperation Program. This is a technical cooperation program that is under the IAEA, and it is mainly the primary mechanism for the IAEA to transfer the nuclear technology to member states, which we are a member of the IAEA South Africa. It then helps us to address key development priorities in designated areas such as your health and nutrition, food and agriculture, water and the environment, industrial applications, energy planning, and nuclear power. So as part of our efforts to really drive the nuclear RDI innovation agenda in support with the Department of Electricity and Energy, we have identified projects, peaceful nuclear projects that can be supported for the next 5 years under what we call the cooperation program. And these are the programs that we believe are very critical to support our advancement of the nuclear RDI agenda. And the picture below, it shows the picture when the country program framework, which guides the implementation of those 5-year projects. That document was signed by the Deputy Minister of Electricity and Energy in November 2024, supported by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in the development and providing the inputs to that country program framework document. The other critical aspect where we are partnering with the Department of Electricity and Energy is through, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, through the Energy Secretariat, and part of us supporting the Energy Secretariat will also then, by virtue of that, we also are represented as in the SANEDI board as the department, as well as we're also supporting the Department of Electricity and Energy in the South African Renewable Energy Master Plan, which was recently adopted by Cabinet. And part of our support in that piece of work, we supported the department through the development of the SAREM. And a part of our support in that development of SAREM was as a co-developer, as well as one of the main funders when it comes to the development of the South African Renewable Energy Master Plan. And also, our plan is the continuous support of the implementation of SAREM. And in this regard, we are represented in the Executive Oversight Committee in support of SAREM, as well as what we have done to date, being proactive in consultation with the Department of Electricity and Energy. We have identified critical aspects, or what we call the low-hanging fruits, where we believe as the department we can support the implementation of SAREM. And part of that identification is what is reflected in the slide, where we're saying as the department we are positioning ourselves under Pillar 1 of the SAREM, where we're saying we can support the demand for renewable energy and storage technologies, and doing and supporting that pillar. It's also looking and focusing on clean energy technologies in partnership with local and district municipalities, and those clean technologies focusing on fuel cells, energy storage, renewable energy, and carbon capture and use technologies. We also believe that we can support the implementation of SAREM through driving industrial development in the renewable energy and storage value chains. And part of that support is through the energy storage flagship program, where we are developing technologies along the lithium-ion batteries value chain from mining to beneficiation, which can then contribute to the achievement of the goal of SAREM. So I'm not going to mention all the other pillars that we are positioning ourselves with when it comes to SAREM. They are the ones that are listed in the slide. And this slide just shows you just our starting point when it comes to our collaborative efforts with the Department of Electricity and Energy when it comes to the advancement of the hydrogen economy agenda of South Africa. This is at a very initial conceptual stages. We believe that this relationship will grow. We have just started, and we believe that there's greater things that will come out of this relationship. We will strengthen it as we go forward in embarking in contributing to the hydrogen economy agenda of South Africa. As a start, we have supported the Department of Electricity and Energy in hosting their very much credible and very much well-renowned the African Green Hydrogen Summit, which recently took place in Cape Town. And part of our support through that initiative we're supporting the summit as one of the official sponsors, and we also hosted some of the high-level executive panel session, which was titled Banking on African Hydrogen, Advancing Locally Developed Hydrogen Technology Intellectual Property for Continental Growth. We believe that, as I indicated in my initial remarks, really there is a critical need to support the upscaling and the commercialization of these technologies that we have supported through these government programs, because we believe that they will then put us at a competitive advantage, that we're not going to be put in a place where we only rely on imported technologies or foreign technologies. At least we have our own capabilities to be able to manage and develop those technologies. The last two slides, I'm almost done. The last two slides, it reflects, we're just going to be reflecting on how far we've gone when it comes to the implementation of these Energy RDI flagship programs. And part of us crafting a very good way forward is to reflect. And part of our reflection has really focused on what has worked well, what hasn't worked well, and now as you reflect on what hasn't worked well, what are the recommendations to really put us in a favorable position to try and ensure that we effectively implement these Energy RDI flagship programs. And the last part of reflection is looking at really, if we don't act, what will be the lost opportunities? So in terms of what has worked well, really we have supported, as the government, we supported flagship programs that are focusing on low carbon energy initiatives and green hydrogen pilots. That has really worked well in really getting into that space. We have also, what has also worked well was really in terms of strategically positioning ourselves when it comes to clean energy RDI with interdepartmental coordination, as well as also establishing national and international key strategic partners that has boosted stakeholder confidence in the DSTI supported initiatives. That has worked well. But what hasn't worked well, and that is the part where we believe that I'm hoping that even we can get the support from the PPC, both from the STI, PC, as well as from the electricity and energy. So we have identified that really we have struggled when it comes to unlocking the opportunities when it comes to localization of manufacturing capabilities linked to hydrogen and renewable. There has been limited localization when it comes to that drive, as well as the fact that the upscaling of locally developed and publicly financed IP has been lacking due to limited partnerships and limited investors coming on board, as well as the fact that large-scale demonstration and rollout of locally developed and publicly financed IP in an effort to create a commercial pathway has been really limited. We see this as the major challenges that we're facing in terms of trying to drive the commercialization of these energy technologies that are coming from these energy initiatives. So what is our recommendation? As the department, we believe that we should strive to get to a space where we strengthen links to industrial policy and procurement pipelines, to try and facilitate opportunities where there will be upscale investment in demonstration platforms and public-private consortia partnerships coming on board to support those upscaling of these technologies. And also part of upscaling these technologies will require robust engagements with the development finance institutions, such as your Development Bank of South Africa, your Industrial Development Corporation, and your public investment corporations, and to mention but a few. They need to come on board. We need to robustly engage them at a departmental level, ministerial level, at a PC level, try and engage them and to get on board to try and support our efforts when it comes to commercialization of these technologies from the 4 Energy RDI flagship program. And part of the reflection, as I mentioned, if we sit and don't try and consider putting an effort in implementing these recommendations that are listed in the slide, we believe that then we are running we are running at a point where there will be a lost opportunity in terms of delaying in scaling up of hydrogen technologies that could limit South Africa's first mover advantage in global markets. We are aware that the energy space is a very evolving and dynamic space, and if we don't act accordingly, this
recording stopped.
We'll lose the opportunity. Oh, I got distracted by that sound.
My apologies. I don't know how to record it.
No worries.
Can proceed.
I'm almost done, Chair. Thank you so much. Now, in terms of other reflections when it comes to gaps and opportunities, the slide really just gives you a summary of those. We believe that those are the low-hanging fruits of those opportunities that we need to pursue. And part of those gaps and opportunities is deepening multilateral cooperation in hydrogen technologies, its enhancement of private sector engagements in early and late-stage commercialization and local procurement, as well as unlocking more pension fund investment to support tech startups through the PIC. So PIC and the other other DFIs really are one of those key stakeholders that could really play a critical role when it comes to unlocking these gaps and opportunities. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I want to thank you very much. And just before I stop, I just want to bring you to the attention of this last slide. This last slide just gives you an example of the deployments that we have supported through the HISA program. And one of those key deployments is when we installed 7 fuel cell systems at one military hospital during COVID-19 pandemic. And those fuel cell systems were based, had locally developed and intellectual property funded from the HISA program in the form of membrane electrode assemblies. And they were powering the facilities that were catering for COVID-19 patients. So that is one good example of what came out of the support of the HISA program, as well as also we have deployed in partnership with South African Post Office our technologies there in the form of hydrogen fuel cell range extenders. The partnership involved the conversion of 3 electric scooters into fuel cell powered scooters, and the original range of the electric scooters was 70 kilometers. With the incorporation of the hydrogen fuel cell range extender technology, it extended that range from 70 to 270. So the economic opportunity that came from there was that now it meant that there's more there's more economic viability of those electric scooters that could be derived by SAPO with the advent incorporation of the technology that came from the HISA program. And then the last deployment that we supported was the conversion of an electric powered forklift into a fuel cell powered forklift in partnership with Impala Platinum Refineries. That was way back in 2016, and that forklift is still operating at the Impala Platinum Refineries in Springs. And part of us supporting that conversion was bringing in the technology in the form of metal hydride storage tanks, as well as installing a hydrogen fuel cell refueling station. And part of the work that, part of the economic benefits that came from that partnership was that originally the electric powered forklift, it took at least 8 hours for refueling. But with the incorporation of the metal hydride storage technology, it brought down that refueling time to less than 10 hours, to less than 10 minutes, sorry. That meant that there's more there's more man hours that are put in terms of economic viability of that forklift, and also as well as the reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions, because with the introduction of the metal hydride storage tanks, there's only what you get out of there, it's only water, and it's only water that you get, and electricity from a fuel cell system that as byproducts. So those are the economic benefits that are associated with these key deployments that we have supported. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to take this wonderful opportunity to thank you for affording the department this opportunity to come and just give you a brief update on the kind of work that we do in partnership with the Department of Electricity and Energy, CSIR, as well as SANEDI. I will end here, Chair, and for any questions, we are willing and ready to try to our best of our abilities to address those questions. And as indicated by the DDG, we have representatives from SANEDI, representatives from CSIR, that will also assist in providing more clarity in any of the questions that will be asked today. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mandy, for this comprehensive overview. Chairperson, let me conclude by highlighting the complementarity of the institutions before you. DSTI leads and coordinates policy and funding. SANEDI manages the Energy Secretariat and the flagship programs as presented. And then the CSIR delivers on this implementation. The partnership enabled us to advance South Africa's energy transition in a coherent and impactful way. Chairpersons, this concludes the department's formal presentation. Together with our colleagues from the CSIR and SANEDI, we stand ready to engage with members, committee members, and answering their questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I would now like to hand over to the Chair of Electricity and Energy to proceed with the question and answer session. Nabomvana.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me give over to the honorable members to interact with the presentation. I think they are just clear, but I know for a fact that we will have to discuss and interact and comment on those. I will give an opportunity to honorable members. I see the hand of Honorable Paulson, followed by Honorable Malem, and then followed by Tumi. Let me stop there for now. I'll proceed with other hands. Over to you, Honorable Paulson, with a question or comment.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you very much for the presentation. Chairperson, I have a few questions. The Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, Energy Secretariat at SANEDI is mandated to assist DSTI with implementation.
Recording in progress.
And monitoring of the 4 research, development and innovation flagship programs and the Energy, Science, Technology and Innovation plan as part of the department's decadal plan. So I suppose this is the 10-year plan. So I'd like to know what specific quantifiable metrics and key performance indicators are currently used to effectively monitor the successful implementation and impact of the STI plan and innovation policies, and how are these metrics translated into actionable insights and strategic adjustments to address identified gaps. Then also the presentation outlines strategic intent and alignment with policy intent such as improving inclusion, increasing support for the business sector, and commercializing publicly funded intellectual property. So the DSTI mantra aims to place science, technology, and innovation at the center of government, education, society, and the economy, it seems. But beyond these stated intentions, what concrete and measurable initiatives demonstrate the successful integration of science, technology, and innovation across these sectors? And how is the tangible impact of the central placement being assessed and communicated to stakeholders? Chairperson, it's no use we doing things and we're not measuring the impact. For example, I'd like to know in terms of 1 million people who were without electricity because of challenges we have in terms of generation, that SANEDI came up with solutions along with science, technology, and innovation that address these particular problems. Research should translate into something tangible where that improves the lives of the citizens of this country. Then also, South Africa's got a competitive advantage, and this is highlighted as its renewable energy resources in terms of land and having 75% of global platinum group metal reserves. How does DSTI ensure that this research and development and innovation flagship programs are maximally leveraging these natural endowments to create sustainable economic growth, local beneficiation, and significant job creation, especially in the rapidly evolving global green hydrogen and energy storage markets? Chairperson, we've spoken at length about the battery energy storage systems and giving almost 15 billion rands worth of projects to Mulilo Energy. And then here's an opportunity where government is working on battery energy storage systems, determining what the best battery energy storage system is. And it has already been awarded to an external service provider, whereas we here have the potential to build our own capacity and to drive our own battery energy storage system programs. Why is it not being done by the Department of Electricity and Energy, for example, when the research is there, and this should be a measure of the outputs of this particular science, technology, and innovation flagship program? Lastly, Chairperson, under the reflection section, it identifies limited localization of manufacturing linked to hydrogen and renewable technology and delays in scaling hydrogen technology as areas that haven't worked or represent lost opportunities. What are the detailed root causes and systemic barriers that have led to these limitations and delays? And what specific time-bound strategies and resources, which include financial, human, and policy, are being rigorously implemented to overcome them, particularly to secure South Africa's first mover advantage in global markets? Thank you very much.
Can I also caution us that we have to give everyone an opportunity to ask? And if you think that your questions are too many, you can split them, and then maybe we'll give the second round so as to be able to have a chunk, all of us in the platform. Thank you very much, Honorable Paulson. Honorable Mailem?
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm going to apologize for not putting on my video. My network is a little bit flaky today. Chairperson, a couple of quick questions. The first one is, there was a slide about competitive advantage, and I've raised this before in energy and electricity, but I'd really welcome the input from DSTI about this. One of the concerns I have is that South Africa is very far from its marketplaces where people are, where the demand for green hydrogen and green ammonia is. So, for example, we see that Morocco is investing heavily in green hydrogen, and they've built a massive solar plant, and they're literally across the Mediterranean from the primary market for the output product that they produce. Has anyone done a competitive analysis on the transport costs our our competitive advantage in terms of price of producing green hydrogen and green ammonia in South Africa. I am a little concerned as well that these presentations are not very specific in terms of timelines and budgets. Who is responsible? When can we expect to see results? Who's paying for it? And who's overseeing it? Is it DSTI? Is it energy and electricity? Where is the responsibility? Which sort of leads me into my next question. And that is, who has been mandated to finalize a regulatory framework for hydrogen? And when will we see that? Because at this point, it seems to be very much up in the air with nobody taking responsibility for it. So I'd really like some clarity on that. My last concern is this. Water use strategies for green hydrogen, and the figure that I've seen is up to 30 liters per kilogram are flagged as a challenge, but there's no reference to water rights allocations or desalination funding. So my question is, how is the department securing and costing the required water volumes that are necessary for green hydrogen projects, particularly in water-stressed areas like Buchubai and other places in South Africa? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Milam. The next is Honorable Tumi. We'll follow by the Honorable Waynet, and then Vusi. We'll stop there for now.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome the presentation. I think I'll just get straight to it. I think my first question, we hear a lot about how South Africa is the continent's largest emitter of carbon dioxide. And obviously, this is largely due to the fact that our economy has, one of the highest carbon intensities globally, because we rely heavily on coal-fired power plants for energy generation. And I think we know that South Africa has set a nationally determined contribution, NDC, under the Paris Agreement. But however, the issue is with our current policies, which are considered highly insufficient. Yes, there are policies like the carbon tax which exist, but given the continued reliance on coal and large government subsidies to the energy sector, how do we really move forward, or what are your plans to ensure that we adopt a policy direction that compels us as a country to do better when it comes to our carbon emissions? Because we have those climate and environmental obligations that we must adhere to. My second question, the interdepartmental collaboration would require a coordinated plan or some kind of collaboration framework to ensure that you streamline operations. This, for me seems like a complex task when, working with different departments on what seems to be like a mammoth project and would require some kind of synergy to ensure consistency. So how do you plan to facilitate your interdepartmental collaboration? My last question, Chair. How do the key research priorities identified by the CSIR and SANEDI in relation to hydrogen innovation align with the national energy goals, and how does the integration of your research findings complement the national energy planning and infrastructure development? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tumi. Honorable Waynet.
Thank you. Sorry, I was speaking to myself. Sorry, if I can start again, I spoke to myself right now. I want to say, if there's one thing that South Africa should get right, then it's the whole hydrogen economy, because transition to hydrogen gives us the opportunity to become energy self-sufficient in all areas, also in mobility, not only in the production of electricity in itself, also the big haulage, big trucks, which are maybe less suitable for electrical mobility. So there are two things I want to know about that. The one is, you just mentioned the liquid organic hydrogen carrier in passing. which, if I understand it correctly, is basically an oil to which hydrogen can be fixed in lay terms, and from which it can be released again, and which makes it so much easier to store and to transport than the hydrogen gas, which we all know is very prone to escaping. What is the advancement in that area? And then also the whole thing that there were not commercial uptake of the intellectual property, in which ways were it advertised? I know the CSIR often has an invitation to enterprises, something like that, which is publicized on its website. Now, I guess the scale of these projects, it's not like somebody can just say, "Let's try and do it." It's a huge scale. But if you could say, how did you market it to the commercial community of South Africa or wherever? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Winate. Honorable Vusi, followed by Honorable Tring and Honorable Natasha.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable Chair, I do hereby welcome the presentation. And yes, the presentation, Honorable Chair, provides a comprehensive overview of South Africa's strategic efforts as to advance its hydrogen and energy sectors through innovative initiatives. Chair, it also highlights the role of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, SANEDI and CSIR, together with the Department of Electricity and Energy in executing the 4 key energy RDI flagship programs as aimed at supporting the low carbon energy solutions such as the green hydrogen as well, which is included as well. But Honorable Chairperson, while the structure and the conceptual framework are clear, it does reveal that there are implementation challenges, particularly in the local manufacturing and commercialization, and that is a substantial barrier to realize its full potential. And Chair, what I also noted is that despite the support for the pilot project and strategic positioning, the limited localization of hydrogen and renewable energy technology manufacturing hampers also the economic transformation and job creation. And this, Chair, disconnects between research and large-scale commercial deployment and underscores the need for better linkage between innovation, initiatives, and policy industry as well, or industry policy. And also it does, Chair, underscores the need for better linkage between enterprise development and procurement pipelines. Without addressing these gaps, Chair, South Africa risks losing its first move advantage in emerging markets, especially given the delays highlighted in the scaling hydrogen technology development. Chair, my first question will be, while the focus is on the green hydrogen, what is the economic feasibility for a large-scale production, especially considering the country's current water stress and the need for significant renewable energy generation to power electrolysis? And secondly, Chair, I want to understand in what ways can the pension funds and venture capitalists unlock more domestic and international investment as to support the energy tech startups. Lastly, Chair, I wanted to check, Chair, what are the key components of South Africa's nuclear research, development and innovation strategy, and how do they align with the international cooperation efforts? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Vusi. I said followed by Honorable Tring and Honorable Marzoni. I'll stop there.
Chair, can I proceed?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, firstly, I just want to again offer my apologies for coming in late this morning. I had an urgent meeting that I needed to attend to from early this morning. So let me go to just 3 questions. I did miss some of the presentation, but 3 questions. Firstly, what are the specifics on beneficiating some of our critical minerals? And my apologies. So what are the specifics on beneficiating some of our critical minerals in moving South Africa to energy security while simultaneously driving up employment? And which minerals in particular are beneficiated? And looking at some of the specifics, what plants have been constructed in the process of beneficiation? And as a result, how many jobs have been created? Then secondly, Chair, what is the progress on scalability with the fuel cell powered scooters and forklifts and so on, where one can leverage on the economy of scales? So just from that particular slide, which shows the fuel cell powered scooters, forklifts, and so on, what is the leverage in terms of the economy of scales on those particular products? And then lastly, there's been an argument that some of our coal-fired power stations are unable to reduce harmful gases because of the cost factor. But how successful has the department been in reducing? Our minister basically says the problem is not coal, but the problem is basically emissions. So how successful has the department been in reducing harmful emissions and then scaling up the conversion of the harmful gases into fertilizers? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tring. Honorable Natasha.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, please allow me not to turn my camera on with your permission. I have a very bad signal problem today, as I think a few of us are suffering from. Chair, if I may firstly say it's not usual for DSTI to present us with presentations of this magnitude at such short notice. So I do think that we need to take note that these presentations were delivered to us at very late notice, and it's not normal practice for us. So to the Department of Energy, please know that this is not what we normally do. Chairperson, my first question would, well, maybe statement/question, would be around the intellectual property. My committee knows that I'm obsessed with intellectual property, and I am obsessed with it for a very good reason. South Africa produced some of the finest intellectual property with regards to energy production and future energy production anywhere in the world. And that intellectual property has disappeared. And we did a full investigation into where our intellectual property disappeared. So I'd like to know from DSTI and the CSIR, is perhaps the reason there was such a low uptake of submissions for intellectual property not part of the reason that we cannot guarantee security of intellectual property, especially around renewable energy and energy sector products that come in? I mean, we have to be able to prove that we can secure IP and that we will protect IP innovators and not sell them out to the highest bidder or not just give up halfway through a project. So that would be my first point. Chair, then, I mean, it's no joke that green hydrogen will be a high cost production. I always get very nervous when I hear pension funds being used as a primary source of investment. I then looked at the slides very carefully as to who the international partners and business partners were. And I saw the European Union, especially with the 2020 initiative, and the Department of Science and Technology knows very well about the conversations that are going on for the G20 Science Summit. But Chair, there were relatively few international investors, and given the sizable chunk of international investment that we should have in our country with regards to this innovative technology, I'd like to know why we aren't looking at more investors, especially those countries who are already quite far ahead of the game in terms of renewable electricity. Chair, then I think a lot of what I wanted to say has been said, and I won't repeat it. But what I would like to just touch on is that we have a significant skills gap in South Africa, and if ever there was an opportunity to create jobs and to create interest amongst young South Africans in becoming young scientists and young innovators and young engineers, it's certainly around this. And I don't seem to see a lot of push to make young South Africans excited about getting involved in science and engineering. And I'd like to know, especially from CSIR and SANEDI, what incentives are being offered to young people to really spark their interest in this? Because, you know, if one thinks back to the construction of Medupi, one of the problems was we didn't have enough coded welders to build the boilers. And it's because we weren't creating interest amongst young people to become artisans in the field. So I'd be very interested to know in what we're doing to ensure that young people are upskilling themselves in the right direction and interesting young people in becoming scientists and innovators. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Natasha. Honorable Njadu. Followed by Honorable
of both committees and honorable members. I just want to welcome the presentation, the department. Let me go straight to my question. Can the department present a single verifiable metric that demonstrates how the Energy Secretariat has improved energy security or reduced load shedding since its inception? How much public money has been spent on this secretariat's salaries, operations, and coordination activities? And how does this cost justify its existence amid a fiscal crisis? Why is the state prioritizing the training of TVET graduates on speculative imaging technology over the agent training artisan to repair and maintain our existing collapsing energy infrastructure? Regarding HYSA, beyond phototypes and pavilion displays, how many permanent jobs has it created, and how many commercial products are on the market? Can you please provide audited figures? Why is the state gambling on unproven carbon capture technology instead of focusing its limited resources on proven, cost-effective, renewable energy and storage of solution that can be deployed now? Given our fiscal constraints, will the minister commit to independent cost-benefit analysis of this flagship with a view to defunding those that do not show clear commercial potential within 24 months? Lastly, what specific intellectual property, patents, and manufacturing secret will be owned by South African entities in this battery value chain versus our Chinese partners? And what is the CSIR role in this critical ESCOM battery project, limited to monitoring instead of leading the technical deployment? I thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me end here. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Judge. Honorable Balungile.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to you and all honorable members in the meeting. No, Chair, Honorable Mazzoni almost covered me because what I wanted to raise, one is just two things. The first one is the issue of the skills gap, and that is a concern to me because it speaks to its then sustainability. Now, I want to check, Uber, so far, what are the measurable outcomes that has been achieved in terms of skills development? I am raising this specifically through the TVET colleges, Chair, because my understanding is that TVET colleges are the hubs for skills development. Yes, of course, with universities of technologies. Now, I just want to check what are the measurable outcomes that has been achieved in trying to close the issues of skills. The second thing, Chair, is just to check because one of the things that I believe that we should advocate for is the issue of the curriculum renewal in TVET colleges so that they speaks to the skills that are needed at the market as still stands. I just want to check if there are any collaborations with the Department of Higher Education, especially for this particular project, to develop the curriculum that speaks to it so that it can be able to address the issue of the skills gaps that we are talking about. I want to check that. The second thing, Chair, is on the mobilization of investments. It links to what was also raised by Honorable Mazzon. I want to check what is the total public and, of course, private investment committed to this program so far. Linked to that is to check if there are then any risk mitigation strategies that are in place to make sure that at least we protect the public funds that are invested in this project so that we don't run a project, yes, of course, with partnership with partners both at locally and internationally, but then we don't protect what we have invested for, because part of the things that was raised in the presentations was challenges around the issue of commercialization. So I just want to check, but what are then mitigating factors that are in place so that we don't lose the investments that we put in? I just wanted to check those things, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Balungile. It's Honorable Susan. Over to you, Doc, followed by Honorable Nchabeleng. And the last one will be Honorable Bapti.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thanks for the presentation. But I would also repeat and say the timing of the time when the period when we received the presentation, definitely for us it's not desirable, so that we can be able to engage more intense on the matters of concern. And secondly, just to say, during the presentation, when I looked at the slides on that was the packaging of your slides. For example, the South African competitive advantages. There were a lot of maps, a lot of writings, all captured in one page. In future, please just try to separate them and put each and every aspect of a discussion on its page. It's easier and better for us to follow the discussion so far. The first question is, what are your infrastructure development pertaining to planning for hydrogen refueling infrastructure and export terminals, like, for an example, Saldanha Bay? The following one, the CSIR developed tools to support spatial planning and environmental assessment for green hydrogen projects. How do you plan to use these tools for your advantage? How does hydrogen fit into South Africa's broader decarbonization and energy transition plans? Can you tell us more about the Futura Hydrogen Campus Southern Africa initiative, the one that is done with Stellenbosch University and University of Groningen, and its goals for sustainable energy? They have created a pioneering research hub for green hydrogen and sustainable energy technologies named Futura HyCasa. How are you involved in this? And because they definitely have some research-related findings that can contribute to the growth of your department. What strategies are in place to address the skill gaps? But this time I'm talking about the skills gap of the local communities so that they can have necessary skills for renewable energy projects. What are the current barriers to scaling up pilot projects into full commercial operations? And the last question, how is your financial oversight conducted across multi-institutional projects? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable. And I said it's Honorable Tabeleng and Honorable Bapti. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity. I greet you all, honorable members, as well as the department executives and those that are participating. Quick question on the hydrogen economy as well as the hydrogen presentation. Given the challenges around the fact that we are currently prioritizing on producing hydrogen in South Africa for the hydrogen economy, what happens with the fact that currently hydrogen technology does not exist in terms of commercialization? And as a result, we're spending a lot of money and time when we should be focusing on already proven technologies that are currently usable for technology in terms of energy. I understand the view that you need hydrogen in order to literally commercialize as well as, use platinum that we have. But from a South African point of view, the view of hydrogen is still years ahead of time. We don't even have a single hydrogen technology that is provable, that is commercially viable, that is ready to go into production. What is the effort of spending all of these efforts in presenting a hydrogen economy that we know doesn't exist? The other thing is the minister last year signed a hydrogen vehicle manufacturing agreement as well as a hydrogen technology with regards to the conference that he had attended. Again, nothing came out of it. It was just a signing ceremony and it was just a speak and scene and make headlines and make huge promises in Minister of Electricity, and nothing has come to fruition. The vehicle and industrialization technology is based on a phase out and phase in solution. So far, in the current vehicle technology industrialization, we're looking at phasing out the conventional, ICE engines, which is the ordinary engine which are using petrol, diesel, or fuels, into moving into the electric battery technology. And yet, you don't see any of that hydrogen application being actually viewed as an alternative. within the vehicle transition space, whereby you could even have a hybrid environment of a hybrid technology around hydrogen battery fuel cells. So I'm still a bit confused because we want to understand from a policy point of view, how do we assist our South Africans who are looking for jobs, who are looking for industrial opportunities, who are looking for entrepreneurial opportunities to use these technologies that government is spending so much of money on research and understanding, but there is no yielded almost a dividend on the social dividend point of view of the current return of investment. You know, it's wonderful to make promises of a future that we know does not exist in the next 5 to 10 years. But being realistic is currently the biggest market of hydrogen technology is in the battery fuel cell, is in the production of hydrogen in terms of making sure that hydrogen can be used as a gas and can be imported or exported from a commercial point of view. So one wants to know very clearly, this whole strategy, where is it headed to? Is it just a research fantasy? Is it just a phantom project that is given again and we know that it will come to a point where at some point we won't even be able to adopt it? Because many other European countries are using South Africa's, base in order to fund hydrogen investment or funding. But they are not even utilizing it. The other problem again, I come back to this issue again, I raised it in the last meeting when we were presented on hydrogen, was you have a situation, there is no water in South Africa, there's a scarcity of water. Hydrogen requires water. Where are we going to find these water resources? The last time I was told that, look, we're going to be using acid mine drain water as a substitute for actually hydrogen technology. So, it's very confusing at this stage. The idea of hydrogen itself is currently in an infantile stage. Can we make sure that when you give us a solution around the hydrogen economy, you talk to us about something that is fundamental, that is implementable, that is going to solve South Africa's problems? This government does not have jobs. This government does not have currently energy and electricity. There is no battery storage or technology available. We're currently buying battery energy storage from overseas instead of utilizing the current hydrogen technology. That should have been a storage. So what are we talking about when we say that there is a hydrogen economy that is supposed to exist? Because we are lying to our people. None of these presentations that are made here are realistic. And if they were realistic, this technology today will be in its commercial and will be in its buzzing stage, like you would find with the lithium battery technology. You don't have to ask, lithium is everywhere today. In the renewable sector, in the automotive sector, in the industrial sector, you find lithium utilization. We are not doing the same with hydrogen. We don't have a hydrogen commercialization technology or strategy, yet we're still presented a hydrogen economy and a future. Are we being lied to? Because we promise our people to say there are going to be jobs coming. The GNU government has failed to make sure that those jobs are created. The current promises around the current presentations of hydrogen, etc., and technology are not going to provide any of the jobs. It's currently at an infantile and infancy stage where it's just basic research. 5-10 people might benefit out of the millions of investment in terms of research that is provided, but the majority are not going to get any of the benefit. So what is the really full, clear strategy on the hydrogen economy? We want to see jobs. We want to see industrialization. We want to see our people getting commercial opportunities out of these industries. And we want to see the South Africa's economy change. And yet, none of the promises that are made are promising anything that is going to be tangible. So my question is, why are we pursuing this economy when we know there is no dividend flow as well as there is no social dividend return on the investment? Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tabeleng. Honorable Papti.
Thank you, Chair. And if you'll excuse me for not using my video, my signal here on the south coast of KZN is not great. Chair, my first question is around the methane pyrolysis at the wastewater treatment works. That particular project appeals to me because of the problems we have at local government level and the beneficiation that could result from a project of this nature if it works out to be viable. And I'd just like a little bit more background as to how it looks on the viability stage in terms of using this process with wastewater treatment plants, which at this stage in this province in particular, most of them have collapsed and they will require upgrades. This may be an opportune time to find some synergy there. My next question has to do with, it's one just of curiosity, and why was the pension fund investment singled out? Didn't quite get that. My third one has to do with HR development, and what are the metrics being used to track the degree to which HR development is taking place to full space in these new technologies as they come on stream. But my final question has to do with hydrogen and SARIM. And one gets the clear sense that water and cost are two major factors that impact on hydrogen. But do we have a high level comparison or cost comparison of hydrogen with renewables and storage so that we know where it is in terms of future viability? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Bapti. There are questions that have been sent by Honorable, which I am not sure whether it will be a repetition or not, but let me read it because Honorable Fasia will be very happy when he heard that her questions were asked. The first question is saying that the historic drawback for the advancement of the technology, both the carbon capture initiative and green hydrogen technology, has been cost of production. I believe one of the key things from the energy perspective we will raise and would be the commercial viability and accessibility of these projects. So we would be asking questions regarding benchmarking. Benchmarking, if any benchmarks of cost has been made, cost of storage, value chain integration. I just want to initially find out if such an assessment has been made. The second one, through the green hydrogen roadmap, are there any initiatives that aim to increase green hydrogen produced and converted into ammonium in one place of facility without needing new pipelines? As we come to understand that this become a serious overhead for infrastructure cost. Otherwise, those were the two concerns and questions that Honorable First asked, but I will give over now to Mandy and the team and also other people that should answer all these questions. I'm sure they have taken note of them. So
Honorable
whoever
Chair.
is ready.
Hi, Chair. It's Chair of Science, Technology and Innovation. I had two questions to ask before we hand over to the team that must answer.
Oh, okay, Tsakani.
All right.
Tsakani, over to you. I'm sure you will be the last one. I don't see any other hand for now. Thank you, Chair. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to check on the carbon capture program. If it's both the department and the strategy that has been put before us is utilizing that program yet. If not, what must be the problem? Because we had excess coal, and it can't be us as a country who says that we must get rid of coal as a form of energy production. So I wanted to check if the carbon capture program is being utilized, and if not, what is the problem? If yes, how far are we to declare that coal now can be used as a clean energy through the carbon capture program? And then I also wanted to check on the nuclear. How far are we in incorporating nuclear as part of our energy generation? And I also wanted to check because there were disturbing issues that we hear from the corridors, but this is a platform for us to understand. Are we utilizing the lithium battery produced here in our country, or are we then utilizing them from elsewhere? Because it will be unfortunate for us to export mineral resources to other countries for them to create what we can create here in our country. And instead of buying of utilizing the technology that we have here, we go and utilize the technology, the same technology we have here, but we go and fetch it in another country. That will be very disturbing. But then I want to concur with members of the portfolio committees, both portfolio committees, on the issue of timeframes, the strategy. What are the timeframes? Because we also want the team to come back here and present to us this. We don't want to do checklist as the portfolio committees. We want them to still come back and give us the progress. We'll have to still convene the portfolio committee, joint portfolio committee chair, to get the progress on these initiatives. So now we want to know on all initiatives, what are the timeframes? Have they started? What is stopping them? What is the problem? So that we will know when we come back here that we have such problems. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Over to the team that is supposed to respond.
Thank you so much, honourable committee members. I am going to divide the questions into a few categories and ask my colleagues to respond. The first main category that I've identified is technology development, cost and commercialization. This will be for our CSIR and SANEDI colleagues, specifically the competitive advantage in battery storage versus outsourcing from Honourable Paulson, question 3. The competitive positioning of green hydrogen and the pricing of hydrogen and ammonia, question 1 from Honourable Millenham and his son. Cost benchmarking, storage cost, value chain integration, commercial viability from Honourable Hassan. Infrastructure requirement, the conversion to ammonia from one place without pipelines. This was from Honourable Hassan. Market creation, the challenges for green hydrogen. This is also linked with Honourable Mazzoni's question. The scalability of the technologies, the fuel cells, scooters, forklift from Honourable Tring. The reducing of harmful gases in our power coal stations, also a question from Honourable Tring. And then the progress on the hydrogen vehicles and the integration into mobility, as well as Eskom's role in the battery storage from Honourable Majatu. That is for me technology development, cost and commercialization that I'll ask our CSIR and SANEDI colleagues to deal with. As well as colleagues, will you deal with water usage for green hydrogen allocation challenges? This was mentioned by two of our committee members, Millenham and Nkosi, as well as refueling infrastructure, for example, Saldanha Bay from Tembakwayo. Then specifically, this will be for the DSTI colleagues as well afterwards, skills development, capacity building. What is the Energy Secretariat doing for skills outcome, job creation, measurable impacts? We heard about metrics. This will be answered by the DSTI as well, but CSIR colleagues and SANEDI colleagues, if you can add there. Curriculum review by the DHET, incentives for youth participation. And DSTI colleagues, we will talk about partnerships, risk and the funding, specifically mobilization of public and private funds, international investors versus local pension funds for Honourable Mazzoni, as well as the broad industry and international cooperation. Honourable members, we do note and apologise again for the late submission of these documents. Some of these questions we will not be able to answer in detail today. We have captured them and we will provide written feedback. The last thing that the DSTI colleagues will deal with is the policy strategy and oversight, metrics and monitoring, cost-benefit analysis, as well as localization and industrialization. inclusion of tangible impacts, barrier of localization, procurement, job creation, mineral beneficiation, as well as the securing of intellectual property rights. We will try to address all of that. But I will now hand over to my colleague from the CSIR to kick us off with answering the questions posed by our honourable members. Thank you so much.
Can you see me? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to respond to the questions and the opportunity offered to the CSR to be part of this conversation and presentation. I'll address some of the questions that were posed, and then I'll hand over to some of our colleagues, Dr. Mangena, who is going to address in particular the matters related to carbon capture and clean coal initiatives. And then Dr. Thabo will address issues related to techno-economics of hydrogen, and I'll ask them to do that. But then before I do that, I think there are a few questions that were posed related to the role of the CSR in general in these activities, in particular with regards to commercialization. And so as the DSTI colleagues indicated, the localization of the activities related to the work in energy, to localize those and to commercialize those has been a challenge. And in large part, this is related to the cost of commercialization. And so when you look at the cost for research and development compared to the cost of commercialization, it's a factor of about 4 times much required to commercialize the technologies that we develop. And so as the CSR, we've developed quite a lot of technologies up to technology level, up to some extent 6. And this requires technology readiness level 6. And this needs to be taken to technology readiness level 9 and above. And the investment that's required to do that is onerous, and to find companies that have the economic muscle to actually take this up becomes a challenge. And we have, as the CSR, established a new subsidiary, which we call C-Cubed, that is focusing on commercializing the technologies that are developed within the CSR. And we are very, very grateful to the department for the support that we have received in our inception of C-Cubed. An investment of around 100 million was made to ensure that we take these technologies to the market. That's still early days at the moment, but as you can imagine, 100 million is not sufficient to take some of these technologies to the market. And so there is a need for a concerted effort to invest in commercializing the technologies that we develop as the CSIR. Then let me touch again on another area that was discussed related to the skills. And so the department, together with the CSR and the Department of Higher Education and Training, developed and launched last year a roadmap for skills that are required for the hydrogen economy. And indeed, we realize and recognize the fact that most of these skills actually reside within the TVET space, whether it's technician, artisans, and so on and so forth. And so we've developed that roadmap, and we're working together with our department, the Department of Higher Education and Training, as well as the CITES and the TVETs on developing of those skills. And so there is work that has been done in that area. Let me then hand over to Dr. Hlalele to talk about some of the issues related to the techno-economics of hydrogen in terms of some of the work that we've done for the environmental assessments, looking at resource mapping, as well as looking at issues of water and some of the projects that we've done in that space. And I also like him to touch on questions related to battery work that as the CSR we do together as part of the consortium that the department is funding. And then after him, I would like Dr. Mangena to talk to the clean coal initiatives and carbon capture. And there was also some of the derivatives of hydrogen's questions that were made. For instance, there was also mention of methane pyrolysis project. I will ask him to address those. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dr. Malinga. I'm not sure if you can all hear me and I'm also visible, but nonetheless, by way of introduction, I'm Thabo Hlalele from the CSIR, and I will be going through a number of questions. Now that you've seen that you're not speaking to the robot, I'll switch off my camera. So firstly, I'd like to perhaps acknowledge the point that were highlighted by the members around the market creation for hydrogen economy. And of course, one of the key anchors why we do the work that we do within the CSIR is really to understand the market that is available both domestically and internationally. One would recognize that there is indeed a drive to decarbonize a number of sectors. Some of them we typically refer to them as hard to abate sectors, such as your cement factories, and also as we do that to retain the jobs that are already there. And of course, there are also other opportunities of decarbonizing the maritime sector as in the main, just to give you some of the examples. And maybe just to also highlight one of the international markets. Most of you are aware of the International Maritime Organization, which has set a number of targets to decarbonize the shipping industry. And because of that, you can already anticipate that the drive for clean fuels or clean refueling as far as maritime is concerned will be rising in the next couple of years because the target that has been set for is for 2030. And it is on that basis that the work that we do, particularly on the techno-economics, is to ensure that as South Africa transitions and as South Africa moves towards alternative clean fuels and utilization of hydrogen as one of the fuels, we look at different cost components of hydrogen. For example, we understand very well that globally there is a concerted effort towards dropping the hydrogen, or particularly the clean hydrogen cost, to below $2 per kilogram. Currently, globally, we all have agreed that the cost that we are able to achieve, regardless of the landed cost that also plays a role, is around $7 per kilogram. And of course, the intention is to get to that point. Now, coming to the South African context, we understand that the cost of capital plays a significant role towards that. If you look at the cost breakdown of producing hydrogen, there are a number of factors. Number one, the power plant capex, the water plant capex, and of course the OPEX associated with that, including some of the technology that needs to be procured, such as your electrolyzer stack, as well as in certain cases, the transmission OPEX of such. Now, with all those costs that we've sort of brought to your attention or that I've highlighted, with a very high cost of capital that you can get from the market, let's suppose that you're sitting at about 20%, that tends to make the price relatively high, at around about 6.2. And of course, if the cost of capital reduces all the way to 5%, the price that can be achieved is about 2.8. And this is the work that we have done that was funded through a grant that we have received with one of the international organizations that continues to fund some of the work that we do, that indicated that there is indeed some business case and we can indeed be competitive regardless of the landed cost that we need to achieve, particularly if you have to export some of our hydrogen to the European market, or even to some extent to countries such as Japan and all that. So this then highlights that we do indeed have some sort of a market that we can play. And of course, the technologies that we've created and developed, which my colleagues will also touch more on, particularly the methane pyrolysis, have a role to play in the country as far as the hydrogen is concerned. Maybe just to move to the other point pertaining to the issue of energy storage, and I'm just going to touch on a high level on that. Across the value chain of hydrogen, just to give you an example, the upstream, midstream, as well as the downstream, there are a number of critical minerals that are both applicable, not just for the hydrogen economy, but also for the battery economy. And in the context of the CSIR, the program that we have particularly played a role in, and we continue to play a strategic role in, is understanding how well can we beneficiate our critical minerals as a country, focusing on minerals that we as South Africa are well endowed with. For example, in the issue of manganese, we know that South Africa have a substantive amount of reserves as far as manganese is concerned. So to that extent, with other partners that we have within the consortium, for example, the likes of the universities and other science councils, we are working together in collaboration to develop active materials for cathode and anode, as well as in some instances, the electrolyte that is required for the battery manufacturing, particularly in the midstream process. And of course, the intention is to expand that whole process all the way to the downstream. As far as battery cell manufacturing is concerned. And of course, the challenges will always be the point that has to do with how quickly can we do that and get that to the market with the available resources that we already have at our disposal, and also bringing strategic partners that can be part of that whole process. And of course, under the leadership of the DSTI and the Energy Secretariat, we continue to develop that work in that space of the battery value chain. Maybe I will then quickly highlight that, yes, we are in engagements with Eskom, where we are supporting on a number of initiatives. And we are in discussions on how best to utilize some of the work that we have to take that work forward in a joint approach, although the discussions are relatively quite at an early stage. And maybe in terms of other works that we have done, we know that Eskom already has a number of sites for batteries. Where we currently play a role outside of this storage is to help with the monitoring and evaluation of the existing batteries that they currently have. And we have done the first phase, and we anticipate that we'll be doing the second phase in terms of the battery work that Eskom has already embarked on. And with that, perhaps I would like to hand over to Dr. Mangena to just take us through some of the details. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Thalele and Dr. Malinga. And good morning, honorable members. My name is Towani Mangena. I'm from the CSIR, as you've heard. I look after the chemicals last year. I'm going to respond on a few of the questions, especially the ones related to clean coal and the carbon emissions, as well as the one related to methane pyrolysis, which I'm so excited about. But let's first start with this carbon emissions and clean coal. So we're not directly involved in the flagship program that was presented, and Professor Simpson, I think, will give the details around that in terms of how the project is progressing regarding carbon capture and utilization. Where we are involved in the CSIR with that. It's around a little bit around the Power to X, the whole Power to X program, where we look at the utilization of CO2. And the work that we do is still at a very, very, very early stage in the laboratory, where we're looking at things like, for example, converting CO2 and green hydrogen to methanol, just as an example, and the others. But we still are building on that one. Where we are also building, and it's a program that we're so excited about. We presented it to the Portfolio Committee of Electricity and Energy sometime in June. We also presented it to the Portfolio Committee of Minerals Resources. It's around clean coal technologies, where we say we would like to localize the circulating fluidized bed technology. And we're progressing well with this. And the value proposition with regard to that is very clear. We know coal is going to be with us for quite some time. And some of our power stations are getting old. They are scheduled to be decommissioned. We are of the view that they can be retrofitted with a cleaner technology, which is this circulating fluidized bed technology. By so doing, you breathe some fresh air into these power stations, and you can run them for longer. You preserve jobs, and you ensure energy security and sovereignty in this country. So we're excited about this one. We're still in feasibility stage, and our plan with this localization is more around building a testing facility that will then enable this localization. We can then, with the testing facility at a megawatt scale, be able to demonstrate the different qualities of coal, how they will behave in there, the different sorbents that we have. We can use it as a research facility. We can also train up the resources that will be running the plants, which we believe are going to be built around this technology. We can also enable the industry for others outside of our typical utility companies. Those who want to build this type of plants, they can also be supported with what we do. So that's on that one. We're in feasibility stage. We'll know how much it's going to cost us, and we continue to do fundraising, and we'll then know how much it costs, and possibly get some funding and then get it built and enabling it. Now, methane pyrolysis, we're equally excited. That's a different way of generating hydrogen, and we call it Tecos hydrogen. And in this case, you have two products. One is hydrogen, the Tecos hydrogen, and solid carbon. Now, the money spinner in this is the solid carbon, depending on the quality that you have. Because if you have the right quality, you can then make advanced carbon materials with that, which are high-value products. You can use them like in graphene. You can make graphenes out of that. Graphene, I mean, it's a very high-value carbon material. And you can use this in composites. You can use this in rubbers, etc., etc. So lots of potential there. But if you look at opportunity at the municipal sites, for example, the wastewater treatment plants, there the opportunity is even bigger because there's lots of methane coming out of those plants. Now you take that methane, you upgrade it. After upgrading it, you have an option. You can either use it as it is, or you can put it through a pyrolysis plant and generate this hydrogen and carbon. Or you can even use, during upgrading, the CO2 is another product that can also be used. You can make food-grade CO2 that you use in there. But it's just an opportunity that can be monetized. Now, where are we with this one? We ran on a laboratory scale. We were successful. We developed a catalyst for that, and it's working. It's successful. At 30 grams of hydrogen per day, we got a pilot plant. We've just commissioned it late in the last financial year. Towards the end of March, we commissioned it successfully. We're looking to now upscale the laboratory process, going to 4.5 kilograms of hydrogen per hour. And the ultimate goal is to have a mobile unit that we can then deploy to various wastewater treatment plants and demonstrate this technology. And we can then do the economics as well, proper economics based on the field trials, and we can look at how it can then be deployed. So I think let me leave it here, Chair, and hand over back to you. That's us at the CSR. Thank you.
Thank you so much for our CSR colleagues. I will now hand over to Prof. Samson from SANEDI to provide us with his responses, and then we will end off the last 10 minutes with DSTI. Prof. Samson, over to you.
Thanks, Jitani. Colleagues, I hope you can see my face. I've put on my camera as well, and then I'll put it off now. Let me start with the question around IP, and this is quite an important one, and thanks to the colleagues from Parliament, the honorable parliamentarians for raising this particular question on the localization and industrialization and the IP issues, how we manage this IP and try to take it into the market. So like Mandy indicated, this has been one of the biggest issues that we've been dealing with, to get publicly funded IP into the market, and also to get it incorporated into the hydrogen economy in big projects, so to speak. So we've done quite a number of things. And part of the barriers for this IP to penetrate the market has been the lack of appetite from the private sector to take up the IP. We have identified that as one of the barriers, and what we did was to come up with a mechanism that we call the call for proposals for partners from the private sector to partner with our implementing agencies, the universities and science councils that are working with us to produce this particular IP. And through that program, we've had a number of successes, and I'll go into a bit of a detail just now. Just the first example would be the work that was done on the membrane electrode assemblies and the catalysts through Mintech and the University of Cape Town. We had a spin-off company there called Hyplat that we then, through the call for proposals, they were linked up with a small business called Bambili Energy, and we supported them to do what we call qualification of these MEAs. So by just bringing that as SME, someone who is, some people who are focused mainly on the business side of things, they managed to secure markets globally. The last time I checked, they had about 100 customers that were looking into buying these MEAs. They had made some sales, more than 10 million rands in terms of the actual money that they had received while selling these MEAs and things like that. So the market for some of these products is already in the market, in the globally, and they are doing quite a lot of other work towards industrialization and scale up of these the manufacturing of these MEAs and catalysts. At the same time, we are assisting them as the Energy Secretariat and the DSTI in unlocking additional markets. There are markets that we are busy working on, the Asian markets, the Japanese and the South Korean side of things, where we are having a lot of engagements with them, and it's looking very positive. So that's the one part of industrialization that one can talk to. The other part is on the infrastructure side, on the HISA infrastructure side. We are working with original equipment manufacturers. There was a question around the manufacturing of these hydrogen vehicles and things like that. We are on top of that particular matter as well. But what we are doing now, if you go to Northwest University, for instance, you will find that there is a Toyota Mirai, a car that is driven 100% of hydrogen. We have set up a refueling infrastructure at that particular institution. The plan now is to expand on that program. So the Toyota Mirai goes there for refueling, and there's some other work that the minister may talk to quite soon that we have done alongside that work that we've done in terms of setting up the refueling infrastructure at Northwest University and things like that. Now we're talking to original equipment manufacturers such as your Toyota, your BMW, your Hyundai, and in all the right at head office levels, for them to bring some of their vehicles for us to do the pilots and demonstrations. So we want to work with industry to basically kickstart this hydrogen economy and create the market. Part of the work we are planning to do with the CSIR and the HISA centers of competence. So that's the kind of work that we are doing in terms of localization. The CSIR has talked to the work that we're doing on the battery energy facility side of things. I think the DSTI will expand on the work that we are doing on the manganese side of things in Nelspruit at Manganese Metal Company, where we're starting to process some of the manganese to ready them to be materials for lithium-ion batteries, and we also looking at scaling up that kind of a setup that we've got in Nelspruit as well. So the mineral beneficiation is also a big thing. The work that we're also doing to attract, to ensure that we get these public-private partnerships is also through our engagements, through things like the SANEDI conference. Mandy talked about the work that we did in the hydrogen, Africa Green Hydrogen Conference. We also have the SANEDI conference that takes place every year, where we also work on bringing together the various partners, the public-private partners, to come and work together. So that particular work is taking place. I know the DSTI is going to talk to the skills side of things and all that. Jitani, I'm not sure if there is a specific question that I may have missed, but I've dealt with IP, I've dealt with industrialization.
Water?
Yes, the water part. And I like the example of the Bukubai Special Economic Zone, because my office is directly involved in that particular project. Through the DSTI, we were appointed to assist the Bukubai project to deal with the feasibility study. We are now at a stage where we are looking at the public participation process and the results, processing the results of the public participation process. That particular project is at feasibility studies stage. We have taken note of the fact that while most of these big, massive projects will take place along the coastlines, in Saldanha and other places where we are actually involved in terms of providing technical support to those projects. In the Eastern Cape, the Hive Energy Project, for instance, they will get their water from the ocean. They've partnered with Cerebos. They themselves, they're interested in water. Cerebos is interested in the brine to then take it and make the salt. We envisage that we'll have those kind of partnerships going forward. But also, part of what the work that we have started, is looking at things like how can we then look at borehole water in areas that are water scarce, and what are the cleanup mechanisms that we need for the borehole water, for instance. As a typical example, we have established a project that we call a water, food, and energy nexus project at a village in Limpopo within the Masia Traditional Council, where we've installed hydrogen fuel cells, we've installed solar energy, we've installed low temperature solar thermal systems to support the agricultural activities. And part of that was to contract the University of Venda to assist us with the research and development part of it, focusing mainly on systems integration and the hydrogen part of things, because we're taking water from the borehole, we're cleaning it up, and then we produce green hydrogen from there. So the results from that kind of a study will then advise us in terms of how do we then deal with the water issues in other areas. Obviously, in the past, there were talks about the use of acid mine drainage water and things like that, where we still need to do some research as well. Thanks, Jichane. You can remind me if there's any other question that I have missed.
No, thank you so much, Prof. I think that was quite comprehensive. I am going to hand over, as the last 10 minutes, chairpersons that we have, I'm going to hand over to Mandy to answer 3 questions. We know that everything has not been answered, but the 3, Mandy, that I would like you to highlight for us is the use of pension and VC funds and the financial oversight across multiple projects, the nuclear strategy alignment, and then lastly, the skills development, not just for TVETs, universities of technology, but also local skills development. If you can briefly touch on those 3, Mandy, I would appreciate it. And then we'll hand over back and answer other questions in writing. Mandy, over to you.
No, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, TDG and the rest of the colleagues. And thank you so much to the members. Really appreciate it once again. I think just the question that in terms of the on the pension funds. I think the rationale that was that informed that recommendation was the interest that was shown by Public Investment Corporation. We've been engaging with Public Investment Corporation in terms of how they can align themselves to support the hydrogen economy agenda. And part of that interest came from the fact that I think the colleagues have mentioned the company Hyplat. Hyplat is a spin-off company of HySA Catalysis. HySA Catalysis is part of the centers of competence that is supported under the HySA program. And part of the HySA program was implementing the strategy that was adopted by Cabinet in 2007, National Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technologies Research, Development and Innovation Strategy. So in terms of the partnership for PIC came on board and contributed some funding investment into the manufacturing of membrane electrode assemblies. So Hyplat, it will utilize at the moment at a very small scale. Their manufacturing facilities are based in UCT, but they are at a small scale. So when Hyplat, so PIC comes on board with the vision is to then use this Hyplat company to commercialize membrane electrode assemblies and catalysts based on platinum group metals and based on intellectual property emanating from the HySA Catalysis, which is a government-supported center of competence. So where we are, they've provided funding through their own funding mechanisms to a point where they also, as the department, have also provided funding into Hyplat, and we've got an equity stake in Hyplat, which PIC is managing that equity stake in Hyplat on behalf of the department, because by virtue of us, our design as a government, we can't get into commercial transactions and hold equity stakes in companies. So PIC has that capability. So they have invested their own money in Hyplat, and currently the status of Hyplat, where it's sitting, is that they're doing a cost-benefit analysis in terms of what will it entail if they put up an industrial scale manufacturing facility. But we have to understand again, for that to happen, other investments needs to take place. So with Hyplat, with PIC coming on board and facilitating and managing that whole process on behalf of the DSTI and providing that guidance in terms of how this large-scale facility can be put up by Hyplat, then that will create that commercial pathway for these locally developed IP. So our interest, so PIC was saying that with the interest that he has come, that they've indicated, there is a possibility to expand beyond the Hyplat, beyond the Hyplat framework, and look at the other SMMEs that can come on board, that can uptake these commercial aspirations of these technologies that are funded by government. So it's a recommendation, members, and it's a recommendation that with our minister's support, he has committed that he will further engage PIC in terms of the modalities and how that can come to fruition. At the moment, it's concept stage that we are saying that given the initial interest that PIC has indicated and their investment in Hyplat as a start, how then do we expand that investment to accommodate and cater for other transactions that can come on board. And then the other part, I think the members have asked a question in terms of how does it work in terms of the funding flow and all that. So just not to bore you with the details, because the presentation didn't cover the details, but as DDG has indicated, any of the other questions will respond to it in very detailed, in written format through the minister, and then we'll give you more details to that. But just for the basis of just a quick response to that, the bulk of the funding is coming from the DSTI. And administratively, how we do that is we transfer the funding from the DSTI to SANEDI. And SANEDI, when it gets to SANEDI, it has to be earmarked and a benchmark to be utilized by the Energy Secretariat. And then obviously that flow of funding is managed through a funding agreement between the DSTI and SANEDI. And then once it sits in SANEDI, SANEDI is expected then to enter into subsequent various contracting mechanisms with all the implementing agencies that are involved in any of the 4 energy RDI flagship programs. So it will subcontract, and obviously by virtue of a contract, you are able to put in clause in that contract to ensure that there's reporting requirements that are embedded in the contract. There's also reporting in the financial side of reporting requirements, reporting as well as in terms of the performance of how that fund is being utilized. So those are the mechanisms. But high level, again, in terms of how we manage the energy RDI flagship programs, I will be specific on and give you an example of the HISA program. The HISA program, we review it every 5 years. And every 5 years, there is, and we put in a very comprehensive structure comprising of experts, local and international experts that have knowledge on the thematic areas that guide the HISA program. And then it then gives us recommendations as to what should we do for the next coming 5 years in making sure that this implementation of these technological areas are in line with the agenda of government. And then the colleague I want also to address the member that mentioned, I think it's member Nchabeleng, who mentioned that there seems to be no credible or clear strategy. There is a clear strategy. We've talked about the Hydrogen Society Roadmap. The Hydrogen Society Roadmap is a clear strategy on how it guides South Africa in terms of attaining the hydrogen economy. And then supported by that strategy, that was a strategy that was adopted by Cabinet in September 2021. And then following that, in the following year, we've got what we call by DTIC, Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the Green Hydrogen Commercialization Strategy. Those are the 2 main pillars that guides the country's journey towards hydrogen economy. And then in terms of those, and we will, like I indicated, we will definitely respond in terms of more details, providing what are the timelines associated with all the critical aspects that inform those strategies. But to put it in very simple, if I start with the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, it's got 70 clear action points in terms of what needs to be done by the country for us to attain the vision of the hydrogen economy. And those 70 key action points, they are led by across the key departments. There's key action points that talks to Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. There's key actions that talk to Department of Electricity and Energy. There's key, so it's very clear that strategy. If you look at it, it's got 6 high-level outcomes that are led by the different departments in terms of their mandate that they're driving. And then on the green hydrogen commercialization strategy, it's got 270. And by the way, the green hydrogen commercialization strategy was a direct response to the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, because in the Hydrogen Society Roadmap, it said there has to be a commercialization strategy that will then bring forth on what needs to be done when we have to attain the hydrogen economy status. And the green hydrogen commercialization strategy, it responds to the Hydrogen Society Roadmap with now 270 key points, in key actions in terms of what needs to be done. So those are the details that we are not communicating in this, but the details that are there, that really government has a clear sense of where we want to take this path when it comes to the hydrogen economy. And then also, just to make an example on the regulatory framework.
Mandy, we have 1 minute.
Yes, just 1 minute. I think on the regulatory framework, the colleague, there's a member that asked in terms of what is being done. There is a tangible work that is being done through the South African Bureau of Standards. We sit in there as the department. That task team that is led by the South African Bureau of Standards is leading the work on the green and low carbon hydrogen criteria for production, conditioning and transport for hydrogen to consumption gate. So what that work, it says, is it wants to come up with a standard that will cover the criteria for South Africa in defining the green and low carbon hydrogen and certification requirements for production, storage, conditioning, transport, measurement, and the use of hydrogen. It will also illustrate the system boundary parameters that we need to adhere to, and also specify the criteria for exporting products to key countries and to meet certification requirements and will also provide the basis for hydrogen purity levels applicable. So that is a tangible work that is being done to inform the regulatory that is required for the uptake of green hydrogen technology, particularly focusing on the green export of green hydrogen and green ammonia. Like we indicated, members, there's a lot of work that is being done behind the scenes, and I believe we will get the opportunity to respond through written inputs and then for your consideration. And we are more than willing and ready to come again to give you any update in relation to what we are driving. And once again, our sincere apology for submitting the documents late. We will do better and next time to make sure that we provide them well in advance. Thank you so much, chairs, and thank you so much, members, and thank you so much to my colleagues, the CSIR, SANEDI, and the DSTI. Over to you, DDG. Thanks.
Thank you so much to everyone, Chairperson. We hope that we have answered some of these questions. And as mentioned, we will provide written comments for those that we have not answered. Chairpersons, back to you.
Thank you very much, but I think the hands that are there are the ones that were there before, because I see the hand of Honorable Susan and also Honorable Singh and also Chabeleng. I think those were the old hands that were there before.
No, they're not old hands, Chair.
No,
It's not an old hand.
it's new hands, ne? And
Yes,
follow up,
please.
okay.
Yes.
Honorable Singh, is it the follow up and or another hand?
I think I was the first one. You called my name first, Chair.
Honorable Singh, I'm asking whether is your hand the new one or you have forgotten to take out of the... Okay, let's give you Honorable Ndebekwayo and then followed by Honorable Chabeleng, and then we'll close the meeting.
Thank you, Chairperson. I mean, they indicated that they will respond in writing on the questions, but we would like to have it on record what questions they will address in writing and not just say in general some questions will be replied in writing. And secondly, when will we need to have a date on when the committee will receive such a response, because this has been our challenge in the past, and we even echoed it in our recent meeting that we had to say we usually have the response that says some will be addressed in writing. So definitely we would like to have that response now. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Ndebekwayo, can you say your question that hasn't been answered?
No,
so that's...
I'm not talking about my question. I mean, all of us asked questions. So in general, they said when they responded, even the last presenter said there are a lot of questions that we haven't answered, and then we'll do it in writing. Let them identify those questions that they haven't answered and that they will respond in writing, and when will we receive the response. I'm not going to say they didn't answer this because it's a lot of questions that all of us asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. Honorable Chabeleng.
Chair, I asked some serious questions and they were not answered, so I don't want to go back and ask those questions. Our questions were not answered, so I don't know. We're just given stories, but this is not really on. We want answers to those stories. We asked about serious questions of commercialization. The DDG tried to almost go through all the questions, but we were not even given satisfying answers. So I think it's really taking us backwards. This is really being regressive. And on top of it, we're told that things are happening behind the scene, and yet we are supposed to be the people who know what is happening behind the scene, and then we don't know about it. So it's not satisfactory. We are not happy. This is lousy reports, and they are not giving us anything of tangibility to work with. And please, this department must understand, members in the committee are not all agreeing because
they come from one party. We are all different parties that requires different responses to our questions. So you cannot club us into one and say, no, because we are in one committee, we're all going to agree to whatever you're presenting to us. Please take us serious and give us serious answers to our questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Jabeleng. Can I say, I know for a fact that some questions have been answered satisfactorily, but there are questions that are not satisfactorily answered. Then the request was that if you are able to say the ones that you say you will respond in writing, and just identify them and not re-ask those questions. But you will know that Honorable Jabeleng, as he has already mentioned, that his questions hasn't been answered. Who else questions hasn't been answered? Are you able to tell us, Didiji?
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I do believe that question 1 from Honorable Paulson has not been answered with regards to metrics, monitoring, and the Energy Secretariat impact. It's been answered just briefly. We will go into detail. Honorable Paulson, question 4, also with regards to the route delays, root causes for the delays and lost opportunities and the corrective plans that is put in place has not been answered. The mandate for regulatory framework on hydrogen has been answered as questioned by Honorable Millihan, but I believe we can give more details there. There was a question on cost-benefit analysis and audited figures. Although that has been mentioned during our questions, I believe that Mandy has said that there can be more detailed answers on the cost-benefit analysis, as has also been undertaken by HiPlat. The use of pension funds has been answered. The nuclear strategy alignment, as asked by Honorable Nkosi as well as Saviti, question 2 for Honorable Saviti, has not been answered. Timeframes has not been answered in detail. We can give more feedback there. In terms of barriers for localization, I believe that has been answered. Mineral beneficiation, as well as intellectual property questions, has been answered briefly. We can give more detail. With regards to the competitive advantage, technology development, cost and commercialization, there was questions on scalability that I believe we can deal with more. Infrastructure requirements, the water usage, I believe, has been answered from Honorable Milliham and Nkosi, as well as partly by Honorable Tembakwayo. Skills outcome, job creation, measurable impacts has been mentioned. It's not been answered, and I believe all skills development questions as posed by Honorable Mujaju, Honorable Sapu, question 2 by Honorable Sapu, as well as Honorable Tembakwayo asked a question, and Honorable Mazzoni on the incentives for youth participation, that has to be answered in more detail. There was questions, the funding questions, I believe, have been answered. Then why are we spending so much money with regards with little or visible products? These are questions that we can highlight on the tangible outputs that is forthcoming from our roadmap, from our policies, which has provided us with a mandate to invest and to see what are the outputs that can be come forth from there. Chairperson, I trust that that is a summary of what I believe we can answer in more detail, as the half an hour to respond to the questions was definitely not sufficient to go into lots of detail for our members on that. Chairperson, I trust you find that in order.
Can I check from the honorable members whether are there any other question that hasn't been answered and has not yet been mentioned? No one? Gone? Okay. Can we then request that you answer those questions, as you are saying that you will get into the detail of it? I am not sure whether you said it's because of time, because If it's because of time, I would have said as the chairperson that time is up for answering. I don't understand why you didn't answer those ones, because it needed some time, because the meeting is scheduled for whatever time up until 1 o'clock. Now you are saying 30 minutes is not enough. I wonder which one out of those that can be able to be attended to now, so that you are left with those when it's 1 o'clock. Or are you still going to check for more information? That needs to be clear to us.
My apologies, Chairperson. I was under the impression that the meeting has to finish close to 12:15, 12:30. With the opportunity that is afforded to us, I do believe that Mandy can provide us with the answer to skills development in much more detail, as well as the nuclear strategy alignment that was asked by two of our committee members. So Mandy, if you can maybe do nuclear strategy alignment, a comprehensive feedback on skills development, and then what is the corrective plans for the root causes for delays, lost opportunities that you have identified. If you can touch for me on those three, and then we can take the next three time dependent. If that is in order with you, Chairperson.
It's in order.
Chair, my hand is up.
Excuse me, Chairperson, my hand is up also.
Honorable Nchabele.
Chair, I think maybe let's be clear. Who says Ilona where DTG? I think as understand it actually. Who mix some issues like that. And she keeps on going back on her broken record. The DDG really needs to understand we were not answered on our questions, and she's going for soft questions like the other questions. We asked very simple. On my side, I asked very clearly, what is the roadmap for hydrogen commercialization in the next 3 to 5 years? We don't have 10 years. We don't have 20 years. Our constituency, our people in South Africa needs these jobs now. What is the roadmap? And in my questions that I elaborated clearly for almost 10 minutes, I was very explicit in explaining the issue of water shortage, the issue of hydrogen technology in coupling it together with the platinum sector mining industry. There is not even a vertical or a horizontal value chain clarity as to what is going to happen where, localization, whatever it is. We're looking at hydrogen from a foreign investors' perspective of companies as well as multinational governments only interested in using South Africa as a test base for hydrogen technology, but not interested in South Africa's. She's conflating issues here, and she doesn't understand what she's doing. We're very clear on our questions, and we're very simple on what we want to understand. We are not people who don't understand what we're asking as a question here. We are very simple. Just give us straightforward questions, and don't run away and tell us you're going to give us written questions. I would have loved this to be a face-to-face or even a question and answer scenario as we have done it before. But this question process of questioning and waiting is delaying our answers, and we're not getting to the point here. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nchabele. Honorable Tebekwayo.
Thank you, Chairperson. I refer you to the agenda, draft agenda of Tuesday, 16 September on Zoom. According to the agenda, the questions and discussions are supposed to end at 12:15. Because we as Science and Technology, we have some other business to continue with that it was supposed to start at 12:15 to end at 12:30. So I assume, according to this agenda, the business of the day was supposed to end at 12:15 so that we can continue with our outstanding business of the day. Through you, Chairperson of Science and Technology. Sorry, I have to mention this. So the time factor is long overdue.
Okay. Okay, thank you for taking me into that point. Otherwise, it's just the normal thing that I know, that the meetings always finishes at 1 o'clock. If it is the case, it means then, therefore, DDG is fine and is correct by saying that there's not enough time. Maybe we have also to talk with my co-chairperson to look at on how can we say these answers. We need them in terms of not pushing them for written answers, but rather to have a meeting to answer all these questions, because most of them have been. So DDG was correct. It's just that I use the principle that our meetings always stops or finishes at 1. Thank you for reminding me that.
Thank you, Chair. I think we would have loved to have this responses verbally, because sometimes you find that written responses are a process. I understand the frustration of portfolio committee members, but given the issue of time, I think we will have to consider the responses in writing. And then we agree with the department on time frames that we must have had these responses by a certain time. And then also we must also then have an agreement outside this meeting that the follow-up meeting from this one, so that we get issues of progress on the set programs and the strategies that were presented today. I think that would also assist. I can hand over to you now.
Excuse me, Chair. The network cuts for me from my side. I don't know, I couldn't hear you. But can I request you to just finalize the meeting and also close it? I don't know what's happening. They are working on something for the electricity here in my area.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think part and parcel of this meeting is to also resolve these electricity challenges that we're faced with and our communities and our society is faced with. Yes, those responses are needed from the department. We really need those responses so that we can at least have answers when we go back to our communities and when we are doing our work, so that we have answers on the problems and the possible solutions that are there on the pipeline. We would like to thank the department for your time, for the presentations, and both the entities for your cooperation and your collaborative efforts, and all members of the portfolio committees that availed themselves today. The attendance was good. We want to thank you for availing yourself for your meetings, and then all the DDG and the team from the department. We also want to thank you for availing yourself today in this meeting and for the preparation that you have, the preparations of documents and all that you have prepared for this meeting. We also want to appreciate the efforts of establishing the Energy Secretariat, so that we have a center where all these energy problems are addressed. We really would love to see this secretariat working and reporting back to both the portfolio committees on progress. We also would like to thank the efforts that are being put forward to also industrialize our mineral resources through energy and other means and programs that have been presented today, that I think from my side, it does not only show that we want to progress, but also we also want to. This will also be an opportunity for us to solve some of the problems that we're faced with in the country, like unemployment, the high rate of unemployment. Because if we are to beneficiate these mineral resources and we utilize them here in our country, there's new technologies and innovations that we are presenting here. It will also create jobs for our people here in the country, rather than exporting mineral resources outside the country and then we create jobs for other people and we'll still go and buy their innovations and technologies that are going to be very expensive compared to how we sold our mineral resources to their countries. I think the main idea here is to keep our communities electrified. So we really would like to see our communities electrified and businesses thriving and the lights being on everywhere in all the streets of our country. We will also track through the both portfolio committees. We'll also track the interim and permanent structures that are being put forward to deal with issues of energy, their progress, and the progress of the joint programs actually that were presented today. So we will keep that in check. We'll check them. We will follow up on how far you are with the work, and we also would like to tell members or also inform members that we are going to have joint portfolio committees. This is not just a box ticking exercise that we have started, because ourselves as science, technology and innovation, we have really identified ourselves as an enabling portfolio committee, and also our department as an enabling department that can work with other departments for the betterment of our country and for transformation in areas where we are still leaking. So we are going to go back to you, Honorable Chairperson and the Portfolio Committee. We hope you are going to also afford us the space you have afforded us in this meeting. To have this meeting, we are still going to get back to you to say, let us track the progress on all the programs that have been put forward into the Portfolio Committee. We thank you so much, honorable members, and everyone that has participated in this meeting and has formed part of this meeting. The meeting is officially adjourned. And then we are going to proceed. We will then allow the members of the Portfolio Committee on Science, Technology and Innovation to remain for the business of the Portfolio Committee. The rest of you have yourself a good day, and you can just leave the meeting, and then we will then proceed when you have all left the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair and colleagues.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I think most of the members from the other committee and the stakeholders or entities are out of the meeting now.
Shanas, can we now proceed?
Yes, Chair. So I've seen the our 5-year strategic plan as we discussed about I think 3 weeks ago, and then also the 1-year plan. I've sent it for your attention. Now, what we must do, it's a document that must be signed by you. It's almost like our strategic plan that we give to Parliament. So it must go to the House Chair. So we just need to go ahead that members are okay that we submit based on what we've discussed 3 weeks ago. Obviously, what we have resolved is like, obviously, we will look at that 5-year plan on an annual basis. Every year when we come in, we will take the time to just track and assess what we did previously and how we see ourselves going forward for the year. And that will basically come through in the form of what are the kind of items that we want to see on our program, whether it's for oversight, briefings, joint meetings, etc., Chair, based on the kind of themes that we shared in the last meetings and some of the recommendations that members had made. So we just formalized and packaged that nicely in a representable manner for the House Chair. So if members maybe at the time to just browse on that, and if we can get agreement that we can submit, then that would be fine, Chair. Thanks.
All right, Shanas. Amongst our members, do we have any additions or do we feel that we must subtract something from the document that was circulated from the strategic planning that we held 2 weeks back? Is there anyone who felt that there's an issue that was not put properly or something they want to add? You can just raise your hand.
Chair?
Hello.
Yes, I just want to add, I know the major problem for all members almost was the problem of finance and our expenditure. But I think even that, as we go every year when we come in, if we can plan and give that projection so that members can agree to, this is the kind of activities, this is the number of meetings, this is the meetings physically, and this is what we want to see, the expenditure for the current year. And I think that is how we can manage that part better than to look at the, that projections that we made overally, because that is inflated. But I think once we sit as a committee, we'll narrow it down like on an annual basis when we check how we're going forward. Thank you, Chair. That was I know that was a major concern for the members, was the how we conduct our finances in the committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Shanas. I think most of the problems when it comes to finances, it was on service providers and all their charges, and the money that we are spending on food, which we have cleared, we've clarified, and we have an understanding that some of the things that we are getting there from catering, we don't need them. So we have agreed to cut it into half. I think that one we have done, we've worked on. So on the rest of the finances, I think we it's something that we need a special session that we will then sit and check on how we want to deal with it, because my understanding is that there are a lot of things that we were not happy with, especially with the costs, how much they cost, especially when we were also attending to the issue of the international trip. We were not happy with the quotes that are there from the people that the parliament is outlined for us to be the people who are going to assist. But then it's a debate that we will have to sit a session and see how to tackle the issues that are related to that. But then on the sitting of meetings and how we're going to sit meetings, sometimes it might be basis, it was on the basis, because even this one wanted to have it physical, but on the basis that we are unable to get venue, sometimes we'll go virtual, sometimes we'll try other means. So now it will be difficult for us to set ourselves meetings to say these ones are going to see them physical, these ones are going to see them. But we will do that. We will do that actually. We will do that. And then where things are not well, then we will then move to another platform that is conducive at that time. But I'm just saying that if that is there in the program, and then we understand that by the time we adopt a program, we know that by this time on this day we are going to have this session, physical or online. I think there we don't have much problems. We agree on how we do that. But then, unless if there's any other thing that any other member want to raise, the platform is open for members to raise if they want to raise anything that I've not touched. I'm not seeing any hand, Shanaz. I think on the strategic plan, we are all agreeing.
So I'll submit, Chair. We'll just send it to your office to have it signed.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
And then is there any other issue?
Nothing else for now, Chair.
Okay, no. If there's nothing else, and then we are going to then meet in the next portfolio committee meeting. Honorable members of the portfolio committee, you can be released and enjoy the rest of your day. This meeting is officially closed.
Recording stopped.